Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Down by Contact Football, DBC Football Podcast, episode number 20. Make sure you follow us on Instagram and Twitter at DBC_football. Check us out on YouTube at DBC Football or on the web at www.dbcfootball.com. We will greatly appreciate you subscribing on iTunes or Stitcher, DBC Football Podcast. I'm Dylan, your host. As always, I am joined by Bill. Maybe not always, but Bill's here. Bill, how you doing?
Greetings and salutations. I'm doing great.
Greatness.
I won all 4 of my first games in my fantasy league, so
yeah,
I am literally God on earth.
I was 3-1-1. That's right, I tied. Tom's not here. Tom's on his honeymoon.
Tom is, yes, he's not here. He is spending time with the
wifey. Yeah, so in lieu of Tom, we have a special treat today on the 20th episode of the DBC Football Podcast. Our first official guest. You've heard his name on here before. The one and only Jacksonville Jaguars fan, Jake.
Yo, what up?
How's it going, Jake?
You know, I'm doing pretty well.
Yeah.
I had some pizza, drinking a couple of the beverages. It's a good day overall.
Yeah.
Beverages of the adult variety.
Of the adult variety. And of the pumpkin variety, mind you.
It's never too early. It's never too early.
Someone who pretty much almost never is going to be drinking beverages of the pumpkin variety.
You don't know what you're missing.
No, I've actually had exactly the one that he, we have some memories involving that particular beverage.
It was a good time.
There you go. That would be the Dogfish Pumpkin Ale, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm rolling with the Blue Moon limited release Harvest Pumpkin Wheat.
And since we're sharing, I'm drinking the Old Dominion Candy
Triple
Ale,
which is also delicious.
It's great.
We're also not getting paid to say any of this.
It's true.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, I just love pumpkin beer. I even have a pumpkin buttercream candle for football game day.
I mean, these are all local Delaware breweries. So, well, I mean, 2 breweries.
Yeah, not so much the Blue Moon, but the Old Dominion and the Dogfish.
Way to
Who likes Blue Moon anyway?
Well, I like their pumpkin beer, the limited release. I tried it last weekend and stuck, and I saw a 6-pack, and I just, gotta have it.
It's like pumpkin pie.
I mean, I've had like a few of their different. I've had Blue Moon and I've had Harvest Moon. I think I remember like
the video game.
Ooh, now we're going somewhere.
And we're completely derailed.
I think we have a show or something going on.
Let's reel it back in. So, as I said, Jake is a Jaguars fan. Jake, if I can put you on the spot,
absolutely.
Who is your current favorite Jacksonville Jaguar?
Ooh, that is a tough call, but I have to say at the moment, it was the jersey I was repping on Sunday, my boy Jalen Ramsey. That's a solid choice.
Yeah.
He looks like he could be a Pro Bowl type corner for a decade plus. So you can't go wrong there. Now, how about if I flip the script and say all-time favorite Jag?
Ooh.
I mean, because I have an all-time favorite Jag, being such a diehard football fan, but I'm curious who yours is.
You're really gonna have to. It's just. And I don't want to be like one of those. Oh, we just got so many talented players. The few that we did, it's just too hard to pick from. It's mostly offense, but I am going to throw you for a loop on this one. It was safety Donovan Darius.
Donovan Darius was an animal. I loved Donovan Darius.
Great.
Hey, I give him my second place all-time Jags. Whereas I'll actually take. Please silence your cell phones. I will actually take the combo of Marcus Stroud and John Henderson, one of which went to the University of Tennessee. I never say that on this podcast. But yeah, so as much as the the mid '90s was the the expansion team with the really good offensive players going around, we shown some love. Jalen Ramsey, Donovan Darius, and the 2 defensive tackles who used to slap each other in the face.
It's crazy because as much as there was the greatest show on turf going into '98, going into early 2000s. You still had an explosion of defense between Baltimore and Tampa Bay, and even showing with later with Jack Del Rio's defense and what he was able to build.
Oh yeah, that's good, man. Donovan Darius.
He's solid.
That's a solid pick.
He's great. It was almost like he was. I don't want to go as far as to say he was like Brian Dawkins, but he was a Dawkins.
He held his own.
He threw his body around and he did what he was supposed to do.
Yeah. Good pick, Jake. See, that's a real Jags fan.
He knows things.
He knows actual Jags. That's solid. Happy to have you, Jake.
I'll say, as of this season so far, I am a fan of Leonard Fournette.
Yeah.
Ooh.
For Netflix,
For
the
Netflix.
fantasy team.
I mean,
That guy.
I have him in a couple leagues, and as I've already stated, I've won all 4 games so far.
There you go.
Let me not get ahead of myself, though.
19.9 points will do that.
Sure.
News around the league. Let's get started here. Deshaun Watson has officially been named the starter Thursday night at the Bengals.
What a joke.
What a joke. Shots
That's all I
fired.
got to say is...
I got to say, the two of the 3 most anemic-looking offenses from Week 1 will square off. I don't know what it is about the schedule, but if you play on a Thursday night, you just have to be awful. I think it's a rule.
Or play in London.
One
of the two.
Yeah.
You can be awful and play in London.
Yeah, it's true.
That happens.
It's true. Don't the Jags play there every year?
They sure do, actually.
You walked into that one.
That was
Hey,
such a
it's-
smooth transition there.
Listen, it's one of my favorite days of the year is for football game Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah, gotta love
The 9 a.m.
You
game.
get the 9 a.m. and then it's almost like what it feels like to be a West Coaster.
Isn't it 8 a.m.?
Yeah, 8 or 9 a.m.
Right.
Sorry.
Let's
You
split the difference
literally
right
wake
there.
up with the sleep still in your eyes and watch football.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at
It's
all.
great.
Obviously, the big news coming out of Week 1 is David Johnson. He dislocated his wrist. He will need surgery. He will miss 2 to 3 months. What does that mean? What's the impact on the Cardinals? From my perspective, the Cardinals can absolutely 100% kiss their Super Bowl hopes goodbye. I don't think that's an exaggeration at all.
Oh, that's a fact, especially
Yeah.
in this day and age. If you don't have at least a running back to do your
Yeah.
play actions or just to take pressure off of your big wideouts, it's just...
I mean, he may prove me wrong, much like Kareem Hunt did, but Kerwin Williams doesn't strike fear in the hearts of men. So at the combination of Kerwin Williams on first and second down, Chris Johnson, here we go, CJ2K, who was recently re-signed, spelling him on early downs, as well as Andre Ellington, who's the better pass protector, playing on third downs. Combination of those players will get all the carries in Arizona, and I don't recommend starting any of them in fantasy football. Other big injury news, Danny Woodhead is officially out 4 to 6 weeks with his injured hamstring. Huge blow to the Baltimore Ravens. However, they did win this past week, but he figured to be a huge part of their offense this season, and Joe Flacco really, anytime the Ravens have that good receiving back, they make the playoffs. Since they haven't had that good receiving back, they've not made the playoffs. So guess what?
They're probably not making the playoffs.
They're probably not going to make the playoffs. But hey, Jeremy Maclin got loose for 48 yards and a score. So that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like the Ravens, but I do like Jeremy Maclin because he did some things in Philadelphia, which we appreciated at the time. Thank you, Jeremy.
Mm-hmm.
But seeing him play well, have a comeback year, that's what I would like to see anyway out of him.
Yeah, it'd be really nice. Not to mention I have him in 2 fantasy leagues.
I don't know. Joe Flacco's a bum, though, so there's that.
Ooh, elite. Also, injury news, the Texans suffered somewhere around 5 concussions this past week against the Jags. Jags were flying all over the field, Jake.
I mean, they were laying the hurt. Like I said, it's one of those great things where you see a great defense, great young defense running around, and especially when they pull their starting quarterback before halftime. It's
Yeah, absolutely.
phenomenal.
And I have to give some love here. Telvin Smith is absolutely one of my favorite current players. That guy is phenomenal.
I wish I could take all the credit in the world for that, but unfortunately, I've
I
nothing to
mean,
do
you
with that.
literally had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But speaking of which, the Texans lost all 3 of their tight ends on their roster to concussions and actually placed C.J. Fedorowicz on injured reserve, effectively ending his season due to the concussion. I liked C.J. Fedorowicz to be a sleeper tight end this season. That's not going to happen. I would, don't hold your breath on who's going to emerge as the tight end for the Houston Texans.
Now, here's the $1 million question for you. In his press conference, does he wear a trilby or a fedora?
Dylan's the man to ask that question.
I'm going to go Fedora.
Do you want to play into your name, or do you want to have the ability to correct reporters?
I'm going to play into the name.
I like it.
Yeah, Fedorowicz.
I'll take action on that.
Fedorowicz. Side bets. I want to take this moment. I've already mentioned it once, but I want to take this moment to eat my humble pie. Never in the Bill Belichick era has a running back of rookie status gone off or had a great game against the Patriots. Kareem Hunt, much to my delightful surprise, proved me absolutely wrong, and he just went crazy. The 78-yard receiving touchdown, just some really good things. Looks like he can be that LaShawn McCoy, Brian Westbrook type running back in that West Coast offense. Now, granted, it is one game, but he looked like the real deal. He was playing against some of the best in the league, and he really balled out. So
he was a monster.
Kareem Hunt out of Toledo. We now know why you were so high on Andy Reid's wish list.
I've driven past Toledo before.
There you go. That's a thing. Good news as far as, the Florida games, the Bucs and the Jags hosting home games this week. Those games are, in fact, back on. Not that they were ever taken off the table, but, the damage from Irma. Both the Jaguars and Buccaneers stadiums have been evaluated and did not suffer any structural damage. So, good news. Hopefully, people in Florida, your homes haven't been ravaged and you'll still make it out to some games. Maybe take your mind off of some of the destruction that's happened around you and root for your home team to win. Or lose, if that's what you're into.
Just like Houston.
Just
got to keep throwing the jabs while they can.
There they are. Last little bit of news around the league. Randy Moss was a revolutionary player when he was on the field. No one did it quite like he did, coining the phrase Moss Team, straight cash, homie, and other things. Randy Moss was inducted into the Vikings Ring of Honor. I thought that was worth mentioning. Number 2 all-time receiver for the Minnesota Vikings, behind only Chris Carter, and really pumped that crowd up to get the festivities started, and a big win for the Minnesota Vikings. So Randy Moss, one of my favorite players of all time to watch play, including the mooning. Really happy to see him get honored by the Minnesota Vikings, because the relationship was slightly rocky for a little bit, even after the bring your 84 jerseys out. But Randy Moss back in the glory, and Stephon Diggs had some really cool Randy Moss cleats.
And not to bring up any of those, what if conversations that people have had a million times over. Just imagine if he never goes to, Oakland and has 2 years of purgatory, and he actually, whether it be he goes to the Patriots a year early, whether it be he stays on with a quarterback in Minnesota, but just imagine how much solidified his career could have been.
Absolutely. There wouldn't even be the conversation of Terrell Owens and Randy Moss. Absolutely. It would be Jerry Rice, then Randy Moss.
Absolutely.
Quick rundown of the scores around the league. We mentioned it. Kansas City beat New England 42-27. Obviously, I don't think very many people at all expected that. If you placed your bets on Kansas City, good for you. Baltimore shut out the Cincinnati Bengals in Cincinnati, no less, 20-0. Quick update, only 3 shutouts occurred in 2017, and so we're already at 1 through week 1. The Pittsburgh Steelers beat the Cleveland Browns 21-18, continuing that trend where Pittsburgh plays down against Cleveland. It's frustrating. I want to take a moment there. Frustrating. Oakland Raiders put up 26 against the Tennessee Titans, much to Jake's delight, and Tennessee was only able to come away with 16 points. So my Super Bowl team, Oakland Raiders, one of my picks there, off to a good start, 1-0. Big things. Marshawn Lynch looked spry. He was out there dancing around, having a good time.
I believe he took someone's head off.
He did. He murdered a Titan. He did. It was pretty epic. The Eagles, the best team in the NFL, 30, Washington 17. Now, I'm not going to lie. That defensive touchdown by Fletcher Cox was, in fact, a forward pass. But we'll take it. We'll take it. 30-17 Eagles.
I mean, not to be one of those people, but how many holding penalties were not called? Just like last year.
Morgan Moses.
When they played against the Redskins last year, it was the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, granted, it was such a critical bad call, but nonetheless, karma, I guess. Yeah,
Philly moves on to Kansas City this week, and if Carson Wentz plays Happy Feet again, it's not going to be pretty.
Not to, we tie it back to, brought up some injuries. Ronald Darby out 4 to 6 weeks with, was it dislocated ankle as well?
Dislocated ankle. Good for him. It wasn't broken and doesn't require surgery.
I was definitely happy to hear that.
But, we could end up in a position where if we're in the thick of the playoff race, Sidney Jones and Ronald Darby on the field at the same time.
I mean, we could have the surprising top 5, top 3 defense that people didn't see coming necessarily.
I wouldn't be mad.
Granted, I don't think anyone disputes, obviously, the front 7. I don't hear much.
I certainly hope they don't.
And our safeties are good. That's well known. But
Fat Rob's 2 yards a carry didn't really help out the Redskins very much.
Right. contrast from last year.
Mhm.
However, whenever it comes to our secondary generally, that's when we kind of get a few jabs, which are deserved, unfortunately.
So, fun fact about that game, Kirk Cousins and Rob Kelly were tied for the rushing lead with 30 yards. New York Jets 12, Buffalo 21. New York Jets, I hope they win at least one game this year, but I'm not going to hold my breath. Atlanta.
I don't.
Oh, all right. Atlanta 23, Chicago 17. Chicago continuing to build up on the injury train. But little side note, Tariq Cohen took 5 carries for 66 yards. He's being called the human joystick. Tariq Cohen. Terrible news, potentially, for Jordan Howard fantasy owners, including myself. It looks like it's happening again. The Langford event is happening again. Be on the lookout. Tariq Cohen. Arizona 23, Detroit 35. Arizona took a commanding early lead, followed by an epic meltdown after David Johnson's injury, and Matt Stafford did what he does best. No one has more fourth-quarter comebacks than Matt Stafford since he joined the league, and he did it again.
He killed it.
He absolutely killed it. He started off really rough, but came back. Detroit won 35-23.
He could have threw 4 ticks.
There was a game in Houston.
Whoa, there was. That's true.
J.J. Watt raised over $31 million for Harvey relief.
Good for him.
He came out onto the field waving that Texas flag, and the energy was just there. Great-grandma was there, right? In her 90s. In the stadium.
It definitely was a sight to see, especially on TV, and I'm sure down in the stadium. It was probably electric. And, you know, all the great that he does, especially for that team and the area. And just, he's one of those NFL good guys.
Heck of a human.
He's a good kid.
He's going places.
Yeah. Depressing to think that we're about the same age. Don't
think like that.
Watching that intro, in my mind, and with my game picks last week, I said to myself, there isn't any way on this planet that Houston loses this game. And then Tom Savage happened.
Listen, I think there was maybe about 5 people that did not have the same thinking as you. I was one of them. I'm sure even Blake Bortles' own parents
Tom.
were like...
Co-host Tom was one of them.
Tom was on my side. And,
he was.
The other 3 were probably, Florida Man and some other meth smokers, to be honest with you, because there's no way that you're going to have a hurricane-ravaged city.
Bath salt zombies.
To be clear, the main point Jake is making is that he loves Blake Bortles more than Blake Bortles' parents do.
I mean, I've actually been in a stadium where Blake Bortles' parents were also there, and I was told to sit down because of how excited I was.
There you go. That's true dedication from a Jaguars fan. I'm not going to lie. Like, I will never... I have so much respect for your love for the Jaguars. I just can't...
Following them since 95, so...
Jake, the Jaguars came out, and their defense put on a clinic. Calais Campbell had like 3 sacks in the first half.
I was about to
literally.
say, that pickup on the offseason is absolutely what we needed.
Now, I ate humble pie earlier, but when I said my favorite offseason signings, and I put Calais Campbell right up there at the top, there was a reason for that. That guy is a mammoth.
And if I'm not mistaken, everybody always looks to the issues that we have. We have woeful problems when it comes to money management in the fact that we don't spend it.
Yeah.
We have, don't quote me, maybe 50 to 60 million that we have to spend just because.
To the cap floor.
Exactly. And unfortunately, the past couple seasons, we just haven't been able to find anybody who's worth the money. I do feel like, again, it's going to be defense that rules the kingdom the next 5 years.
Yeah, including just this past offseason, threw money at Barry Church, A.J. Boye, and Calais Campbell.
I'll tell you one thing, going to A.J. Boye, that Denard Hopkins, round 2, is going to be exciting. Yeah. Those 2, I think it was 3 pass interference calls in a row, both offensive and defensive.
Yeah, D-Hop, DeAndre Hopkins, also known as Nuck, really went to war with A.J. Boye.
Was
former teammates, obviously, but it was fun to watch.
It's clear that they should have signed Jay Cutler for $20 million.
I mean, I would have.
I know you would have. That's why I'm saying it.
Yeah.
That's why he's on my fantasy
Houston
team.
should have went all in on Tony Romo. But the Jaguars prevailed 29-7. However, they did not come out unscathed as they did lose Allen Robinson for the year to a torn ACL.
Yeah, that's bad.
There's a big impact there.
That's actually a huge disappointment, unfortunately.
Yeah, Marquise Lee did not look right in that game.
Hey, you know what?
A couple drops.
He's just underperformed the past couple years, and Allen Robinson going down is definitely something that, as a fan, you don't want to see, and then especially because it's the final year of his rookie contract that he's not going to get a chance to play for it. He's going to be on one of those, next year
prove it
deals.
Deals. The Alshon Jeffrey effect.
Woo-hoo.
All right, well, go Jags. Good for the team. 1-0. I certainly didn't pick them, and I'll eat my humble pie again.
Better than the Patriots at this point.
Another team to lose in that AFC South was the Indianapolis Colts. And boy, do they stink without Andrew Luck.
Yeah, they were bad.
Scott Tolzien, again, that position here is available for our stats guy and coffee expert. Because you, sir, are not an NFL quarterback.
Scott, I like my coffee with a little caramel. If you're feeling froggy.
Yes, sir. I like fresh maple syrup in mine, straight from the tree.
Yeah, I mean, Jake has some coffee making expertise.
Yeah.
So Scott, Jake will be your boss.
He will show you the ropes. He'll show you the ropes.
Fresh coffee, homie.
No, but seriously,
That's a shirt.
The Rams. Another thing that I spoke about, tooting my own horn here, but the Wade Phillips effect on a defense. So long as Wade Phillips is not your head coach, your defense is just going to be dramatically improved.
Right.
Wade Phillips comes in, and I know one game against the hapless Colts with no Andrew Luck, but they also put on a clinic, 46-9, multiple defensive scores, and Scott Tolzien didn't make it through the game.
I mean, once you're beating a team by 20 plus, and their starting quarterback is taken out, it's fair enough to say that defense is definitely on point, regardless of the fact.
Tremaine Johnson's pick six was something of beauty to watch. I know he's been playing consecutive years on the franchise tag, but he's going to get paid somewhere, and the Rams better hope they can come to terms with him. He's a very nice piece for that Wade Phillips defense.
We got space in Jacksonville. We got money.
There you go. You guys have like 4 starting corners.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
That's true. You can afford it.
Exactly.
We would like just one.
Yeah. Maybe we can get him. Who knows? We got Rodney McLeod, his former teammate. Seattle 9, Green Bay 17, in what was actually a pretty boring game. I usually like defensive slugfests, but man, this one kind of a knockout, drag out, and not what you expected from the Aaron Rodgers versus Seattle Seahawks. However, Green Bay has beaten Seattle 3 consecutive times. Aaron Rodgers is far superior to Russell Wilson.
I mean, there were definitely a lot of mistakes, though, on both sides of the ball. Offensively, not the offensive line wasn't there. It's just receivers couldn't open up routes long enough. Defense put a lot of pressure on Aaron Rodgers, which was irritating because I had Jordy Nelson and Randall Cobb got majority of the attempts.
He did. I have Randall Cobb on my bench in 2 different leagues. 13 targets for Randall Cobb, which don't sleep on the fact that he could end up outperforming Devontae Adams this year now that he's finally healthy again. Randall Cobb was a big thing for Green Bay until he started getting hurt. So keep an eye on it. I'm not saying, this is a definite thing that's happening, but it's worth keeping an eye on. And I certainly thought that when I drafted him in 2 leagues. The Carolina Panthers completely beat the life out of the San Francisco 49ers. Reuben Foster got hurt. Not a good day for the Niners. The Brian Hoyer show did not get off to a good start, and that Panthers defense looked like it was back to Super Bowl form. However, the offense did leave something to be desired. Kelvin Benjamin really struggled. Cam Newton really struggled, and the O-line didn't play up to par in pass protection. So something to keep an eye on for Carolina, but safe to say San Francisco's not going to be a contender this year.
Yeah, the Brian Hoyer show is just going to skip the middle, go straight to the end, I think.
Yeah, I think it'll just be the Kirk Cousins show next year. New York Giants 3, Dallas Cowboys 19, in what was absolutely the most disappointing game of the week to watch. Yeah. Primetime football, and the Giants forgot to show up. Just flat out.
Yeah, they were not there on any level.
Eli looked off. Beckham didn't play, still nursing the air quotes injury. Brandon Marshall was a non-factor. The only player looked like he brought his lunch pail was Evan Ingram.
Yeah, I was going to say it's kind of upsetting because beginning of the season with the off-season moves, you see the 3-headed beast at wide receiver. With, and it looks
Sterling
promising.
Shepard, Brandon Marshall, and Odell.
And you got a 2-time Super Bowl winning quarterback. So I mean, if we're playing Madden, this is a recipe for success. This is a 13-3 season, and unfortunately, they came out against a Zeke and Dak-led offense that just was unrelenting.
Yeah, I think the biggest disappointment is Dallas really has nothing defensively going for it.
No.
But they were able to keep New York down to 3 points.
Yeah, I mean they're going to score some points eventually.
Yeah, right.
So the fact that New York couldn't do anything offensively to, take some pressure off the defense.
Absolutely.
I mean, they were going to buckle.
Yeah.
And 19 points against, Dallas, as much as I hate to give the double its due, but is what it is. They have quite a bit of power in their offense. So holding them to 19 with no offense helping you out is a credit to New York's defense.
Side note for Eli Manning, if he starts 9 more consecutive games, he will break Peyton Manning's second place all-time consecutive starts of 208.
No one cares about number 2.
Still pretty far behind Brett Favre, though.
Is it Favre?
Yeah, Favre. I believe he's at 246.
Isn't there an offensive lineman or something that has a...
Joe Thomas is, they believe, they've kind of guesstimated offensive snaps, but Joe Thomas this upcoming week for the Cleveland Browns, all-pro left tackle, should hit 10,000 consecutive snaps, which is what is believed to be the longest streak of all time. However, that wasn't a stat for a very, very, very long time.
I mean, especially offensive linemen, because you're getting stepped on, you're getting smacked around, you're getting all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, the only plays he has ever missed have been plays that were either negated by penalty or special teams, or obviously defense. But, yeah.
He's out in football purgatory, if I'm not mistaken, or was for a majority.
No, he is. He's a Cleveland Brown. The factory of sadness.
What a waste of talent. Could you imagine an offensive tackle like that somewhere else?
He had the opportunity to be traded to the Denver Broncos and didn't want it. He wanted to stay in Cleveland. He wants to turn it around.
He wants to hang out in the cornfields, I guess.
Loyal to the dog pound.
He's got the running back behind him. If only they can get a quarterback,
Feed the crow.
Feed the crow. Draft him 2 straight years in the fantasy league, so we'll see.
There you go. He got the volume. Hugh Jackson didn't lie. He said he's going to not abandon the run this year. He just didn't have the yards per carry against T.J. Watt in the Steelers.
I'll tell you what, that kid is going places. I don't know what it is about
2 sacks and a pick.
But they understand defense. They know defense. Yeah. They breathe defense. I don't understand what it is that they grow out there, but...
First Steelers player to have 2 sacks and a pick in one game since LaMarr Woodley in 2004.
What a guy.
Yeah. First rookie since, I believe, 1970. New Orleans 19, Minnesota 29, and what was an extremely exciting game. I got to see Alvin Kamara out there doing stuff and things. Alvin Kamara looked good. Obviously, when there's no one blocking in front of him, he's not going to do a whole lot, but he looked good. He was quick, agile, and John Gruden just completely gushed about him all game, which made me feel good. Minnesota, Sam Bradford, man. Holy Sam Bradford.
He looked really good that game.
You're not kidding. And it's continuing the trend from last year. Now that with time in the pocket, he set the completion percentage record for the season record last year. He might be even better this year.
He might actually be what that he was
the
originally
first
perceived
overall
to be.
pick.
The first overall pick. The guy that Chip Kelly saw, of all people.
That's true.
At that particular moment in time, I should specify.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, no, Sam Bradford looked really good, leading the team. I mean, I even looked at a play where he kind of took a cheap shot, and he kind of got up and just, this is my team. And he just, looks forward. I guess you could. And then what does he do? He throws a 20-yard bomb to Adam Thielen.
He brushed off his sleeves.
He did. Brushed off the Sammy sleeves. So
good for Sam.
Yeah, a lot of 20-plus yard passes.
I've got no hate for Minnesota, so.
Yeah, it was fun, a fun game to watch, and Dalvin Cook broke Adrian Peterson's rookie premier game rushing yards record. Adrian Peterson debuted in 2007 with 107 rushing yards. Dalvin Cook, 127.
I say in so far week 1, I think it's 3 of the top 5 running backs for yards are all rookies. You have Dalvin Cook,
Leonard Fournette, Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, Christian McCaffrey. Yeah.
Yeah, and
good times.
Tariq Cohen not too far off with 66 on 5 carries,
which isn't bad. Pretty good, actually.
Yeah, and last but not least, the final game of Week 1, the Los Angeles Chargers, and it's going to be so hard for everyone not to call them San Diego. I mean, the refs were even doing it when calling penalties and timeouts and such during the Monday Night Football broadcast. Played the Denver Broncos in Mile High, Denver. Denver pulled out the win 24-21 on a last-second blocked field goal by Young Ho Koo. I know I'm pronouncing the first name incorrectly. I apologize. My mouth doesn't work that way. It won't cooperate. So what'd you think? What'd you think of the Week 1 slate of games? There was a trend that kind of popped out. This was I believe, the lowest scoring Week 1 since 2011.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
It was pretty intense. Now, granted,
Not for Kansas City.
two full teams didn't play.
Yes,
That will hurt your stats.
that might do it.
That will hurt your stats. But at the same time, there were some low scorers, man. Bucking the trend of the last few years.
Defense coming back.
I would love it if that were the case, but I have a feeling that it's not.
It's also
Pretty sure it's
just
not.
bad quarterback play. Is what a majority. Offensive line, quarterback play.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
So
I mean, we know even with 300-plus yards and 2 touchdowns in Philadelphia, offensive line did not look very good.
Mhm.
The running game was atrocious. Just
yeah,
be frank about that. I was very upset with a lot, very disappointed with a lot of what I saw in that game.
yeah.
And it wasn't unique to the week.
All right. Well, before I jump into the game picks for the week, we'll play a little trivia game.
Cool.
Name that! Exclamation point. Now, Bill, I gave Tom the opportunity to win a point while you weren't here last week.
I listened. I heard.
And Tom went ahead and won that said point.
Yeah, I
now he
heard.
struggled. But we're gonna play a little differently this week.
Okay.
I'm gonna alternate between you and Jake.
Oh, so I'm going to get multiple choice?
No.
Damn.
But what'll happen is if either of you combined
Always pick E.
get 3,
Ooh.
you get the point.
Nice.
So we're basically just gonna fire some questions. And we're gonna start with you, Bill.
Okay.
So name that! Exclamation point. I led the NFL in receiving yards in 2016. The category is wide receivers.
I couldn't tell.
The divas of the grass.
The divas of the great. That was solid, Jake. Look at Jake contributing on all angles here.
He really does. He's a talker, if no one picked up on that already. Wow.
I led
So-
the NFL in receiving yards in 2016. Not only this, I specifically targeted this question for you because you had him last year in my fantasy league.
Man, that's my memory. That's just
There you go.
like a steel trap
Yeah.
that has a bunch of leaky holes in it. Schnapple. Yeah. Just leaving dead air here.
Those beverages, they'll really just
Yeah.
Yeah.
kind of throw a wrench
We're
in the
all
thinking
just sipping at the
process.
same time. That's all that dead air is.
Right. That's all that's happening.
Plus, I
That's
can edit that out.
We're think tanking.
Look, I can make it
I
look
know-
like you answered it instantly.
Yeah, I'm
And get it
I'm
right.
just gonna spit out a stupid answer. I'm gonna say Deshaun Jackson, even though I know it's not. I'm pretty sure I didn't.
It
Even
was
have
not. You weren't even in the ballpark. Deshaun Jackson missed some time last year. It was T.Y. Hilton.
Oh yeah,
Fair enough.
I'm pretty sure I knew that because I've heard you say it at least multiple times.
I have. Jake.
I also hate him, by the way.
Yeah, Jack's fans well. Jake.
What up?
I ran the fastest 40-yard dash ever.
Not Bill Page at our combine.
Ooh. Shots fired.
Let's see. Fastest 40-yard dash ever.
I mean, we didn't run 40 yards. We ran 30 yards with details.
Obviously, it's a wide receiver. So who would be a fast wide receiver? Who's streaky? Who's fast?
Hint. It was this year.
Who's crazy fast?
I know it was this year.
He wore the wrong cleats. Did not win an island.
Oh, my goodness.
Time's up, Jake. I need an answer.
Darrell Revis.
That's a great answer, but it was John Ross.
Same thing.
Now, there are 3 questions remaining.
Mm-hmm.
And just because I want you to get a point, if you get 2 of the next 3 between you, I will give you the point. I'm volleyballing this up there. It's a very arbitrary game.
Clearly.
Now, I'm a starting wide receiver in the AFC South. I lied. I'm in the AFC East.
Oh.
No, I'm kidding. I'm in the AFC South. I was recently injured, and I went to the University I'm sorry, let me rephrase. I went to Penn State University. And I was recently lost for the year.
For the entire year?
Yeah.
With like a leg-related
A torn
injury?
ACL.
Oh, was it
Bill,
Allen Robinson?
It was Allen Robinson.
my
Ding! There it is. I really softballed that one in there for you.
I was still a thinker.
Jake,
Yo, what up?
there's a lot of pressure on this question right now.
Story of my life.
I am a starting wide receiver in the NFC West. I am the oldest current starting wide receiver in the NFL.
Part of me wants to say Larry Fitz, but I'm going to have to go with Larry Fitzgerald on that one.
Yeah.
Ding! There it is. Larry Fitzgerald is correct. The former Pitt Panther.
What a great guy, too.
He's a Phoenix.
What a great guy.
He's a Phoenix. Yeah. For all the marbles, Bill,
Dylan.
I am a starting wide receiver in the NFC North. I was born in Maryland, raised in Maryland, went to school in Maryland, even played for the Maryland Terrapins College. I just balled out this week with 2 touchdown receptions. Who am I?
The NFC North.
The NFC North.
2 touchdown receptions. We go with probably from Minnesota.
I can't say.
I know you can't say. Wasn't asking you to. And who does he have? Is it Stephon Diggs?
Stephon Diggs is correct. William, congratulations. You have tied Tom with
That's-
1 point.
That's what you get, Tom.
Yeah. Yeah.
With help from Jake on one.
There you go. That was stressful. Have a drink. Have a drink, guys.
I'm sweaty.
Have a drink.
I'm almost empty.
All right. Well, that was fun. And now that you guys are tied in the humiliation game, just to recap, whoever has a lower score is subject to humiliation. We're not sure what that is. It's a photo, video, something silly that will be available online, social media, and on our website, as well as the loser of the game picks between myself and Tom.
Oh.
So the real intent here is to have Tom lose twice. Let's not kid ourselves.
Listen, I am all for seeing Tom do something doubly bad.
Right. And we could start off easy, like we can just have him wear an Eagles jersey to an Eagles game, which would pain him greatly.
True.
He has a Wentz jersey, doesn't he?
I don't know. I think
Pretty
he
sure he
does.
does.
I think he does. Called out on the airwaves.
Pretty sure he's a closet Eagles fan.
I think he is. We'll convert him. We'll show his true colors. All right, well, let's jump into our game picks. I have Tom's picks fresh from his honeymoon. He emailed them to me this morning. That's right. That's dedication.
Yeah. I'm
Unlike
sure he's really,
Unlike other people last week.
Yeah. Yeah. But you'll save yourself from the possibility of humiliation in this game.
Word.
Yeah. So, recap of last week, Tom actually took the lead at 11-4 through the 15 games, whereas I had 10-5. So, pretty good percentage for both of us. We were both pretty nail on the head there. We did better than a lot of NFL.com experts. Just throwing it out there.
Shots fired.
Shots fired. Let's get into our game picks. Well, actually, let's all pick these games. Let's just have some fun.
I mean, I already know where I'm going on these picks.
All right, let's do it. I'm going to look at the big board here. First up, we have Houston at Cincinnati. Obviously, Cincinnati is coming off a shutout. Historically, teams coming off a shutout overexert themselves the following week. I'm going to go ahead and say on this Thursday night contest, the beat-up Houston Texans can't hang in Cincinnati. I'm going to take the Cincinnati Bengals. So is Tom. Jake, who do you got?
Bengals all the way. I have 2 rules in life. One is always root for the Jags, and 2 is never root for AFC South unless they're playing for each other.
I respect that. Mm-hmm. Bill, who you got?
I can't go anywhere aside from Cincinnati. I mean, Houston doesn't have a whole lot going for them.
Yeah.
And Cincinnati, they're pretty good all around.
Yes, sir.
So we'll do that.
Yeah, Cleveland at Baltimore. The 0-1 Browns take on the 1-0 Baltimore Ravens coming off of a shutout. Let's be honest, it's Cleveland at Baltimore. I'm taking Baltimore. Tom is also taking Baltimore. Jake, who do you have?
I've actually picked up Baltimore's defense in one of my leagues for this game coming up, so I would love to say Baltimore.
Solid advice. Streaming defense for the week. Look at those Baltimore Ravens if they are available. Bill?
So it'll make me wrong. I was going to go with my upset of the week here. I'm going Cleveland.
That is solid.
Ooh.
I respect that. I respect that. There's a good chance we'll be at the Jags-Browns game in November. And, Bill, you may be buying yourself some respect here.
RESPEK. Respect.
There you go. Respect the name. Philadelphia Eagles at Kansas City Chiefs. While I normally don't ever pick against the Eagles, there is humiliation on the line, so I'm going to be practical here. And I do think the Chiefs win at home. It is literally the hardest stadium to play in. I used to be a season ticket holder there. They get more false starts called on opponents than almost any other team. They're right up there with the Seattle Seahawks 1 and 2, kind of alternating yearly. But I'm going to take Kansas City. Big Red revenge game. He won the last one. No sense in picking against them after that thumping of the Patriots. So I'm going to go KC. Tom is also going to take Kansas City. Bill, who do you have?
Yeah, I was on the fence. I wanted to call that another upset just because my heart was feeling it. But, my mind is kind of what runs me.
My mind's
I'm going to do the logical thing and say, after, again, just exactly what you just said right there. After that thumping against the Patriots and how sloppy Philadelphia was against the Redskins, I can't not pick Kansas City, and my heart hurts.
Yeah. Andy Reid teams, they score a decent amount of points. They're not super efficient in the red zone, but they don't turn the ball over. Right now, Carson Wentz has yet to show that he can play that kind of ball. And he had those happy feet last week, which makes me really nervous against Justin Houston and Marcus Peters on that defense.
Really need to clean that up.
Yeah. Jake.
I'm actually going to go against all of you guys.
Oh, that's awesome.
Only for the simple fact that Lane Johnson, before the season started, put out a tweet that if the Eagles win the Super Bowl, they will throw a party. He will buy every Eagles fan a beer. Bud Light chirped in and said that they will host a party. So, in order for them to win the Super Bowl, they need to win games. And I'm going to go with Philadelphia Eagles on this one.
It is hard to argue with your logic, sir.
Thank you. It is sound and found at the bottom of the bottle.
I'm enjoying this. Next up, we have the angry New England Patriots at the New Orleans Saints. New Orleans looked off. They're really not sure what they're doing with that running game. They need to just go ahead and trade AP or let him go and stick with a first down hammer and Mark Ingram and let Alvin Kamara really develop into his own. I think he can be a more explosive version of Dalvin Cook if they let him, but there's just too much confusion. They're trying to get too cute with their offense, too many different formations. I mean, if you saw Sean Payton's play sheet Monday night, that thing was ridiculous. So I'm going to go with the New England Patriots. It looks like Tom is as well. Bill?
You got to go with the Patriots. The Saints looked awful, and the Patriots are still the Patriots, regardless of how they performed last week.
Yeah. Jake?
I'm going to have to go with the Patriots on this one. If I'm not mistaken, they very rarely lose back-to-back games, and that's something that Belichick instills. And
do your job.
40-year-old Tom Brady does not want to lose going towards the end of his career.
No, should be a fun game, though, Breeze and Brady. Up next, you have the Minnesota Vikings at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Minnesota looked like the real deal Monday night. I'm going to go ahead and go with Minnesota over Pittsburgh. Tom is feeling the opposite. He's taking the Steelers at home, Big Ben and crew, to put up more points against those mini defense. Jake, who do you like?
Pittsburgh all the way, absolutely.
There you go. Bill?
Well, I guess this is the one where you're the odd man out. I'm going to Pittsburgh as well.
There you go. Little NFL-style lone wolf. Oh, that was solid. Next game on the docket here, we have the Jets at Oakland. Is anybody taking the Jets?
I don't even think New York's taking the Jets.
I don't think they are either. No. Buffalo at Carolina, same deal. Anyone taking Buffalo? I don't think we need to get into it. Arizona, Indy. Even without David Johnson, I'm going Arizona. Anyone?
Arizona,
going back to previous rules, Arizona all the way.
Yeah. Here we go. Tennessee Titans at Jacksonville Jaguars. The Mariota franchise.
Can't imagine what Jake's going to pick.
I'm going to go with the Tennessee Titans, and I'm going to save Tom's pick for last. Bill?
I am also going to go with the Tennessee Titans.
Jake?
I think it should be established at this point that I will be going for the Jaguars.
2 weeks in a row, Tom and Jake on the same team. Tom going Jacksonville at home. Big.
Yeah, I got to buy that guy a beer if he ever comes out one time.
There you go.
Just one time. Just one time, Tom.
There you go. And the last of the early games, we have Chicago at Tampa, the last of the 1 o'clock games. Tampa having already had its bye week in week 1. I'm going to go with Tampa at home. I think they're a really dynamic offense, and Mike Glennon is still Mike Glennon. Jake?
I got some really good info on the inside of a bathroom at a bar. Jacquizz Rodgers is the man. Let's go Tampa all the way.
taken out of context, that could be misconstrued in all types of ways.
Yeah.
Bill, who do you like?
Yeah, like where exactly did you pick it up in the bathroom? No explanation needed. I'm going Tampa.
Yeah, so is Tom. We all went Tampa. Landslide there.
And by the way, Tom was out with us. Was that Thursday?
It was.
Yeah.
Season kickoff. Tom wouldn't miss that. Afternoon games. First up, we have the Miami Dolphins at the LA Chargers, which should actually be a really interesting game. I'm excited to watch. I'm going to go with Smokin' Jay Cutler. And it looks like, if I can find it on here, I can't find it on here. Tom is going to go with the Chargers at home. Jake, who do you like?
Smokin' Jay all the way.
I like it.
I'm going Chargers.
Chargers, split them down the middle. Dallas at Denver. I like the Broncos at home. Tom obviously likes Dallas. He's the perennial Cowboys fan. Jake?
I mean, while the Cowboys looked impressive coming out, you got to go Denver in this one.
Yeah.
Brian McManus isn't going to miss those many field goals coming up. So
Temple alum, North Penn High School.
You know, I've been to Temple once or twice.
There you go. I want to say I am curious to see how Zeke plays in the altitude. Bill?
Ooh, yes.
I would hope I'm wrong, but I'm going Dallas.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah, it was painful.
The taste of betrayal. Washington at the LA Rams. I'm going to go LA Rams. So is Tom. The Rams looked really good. Jared Goff looked like he knew how to play football, and Cooper Kupp looked awesome. Bill?
I picked Washington.
Whoa.
Ooh.
All kinds of NFC East going on over there.
Listen, they got a man named Gurley. You got to go with the Gurley man.
The Gurley man. Oh, solid. Jake,
That
you're full of the one-liners tonight.
I'll say that was very lyrical.
It was. Jake, we're loving having you on the show, Jake. San Francisco at Seattle. Is anyone fooling themselves?
It's Seattle all the way.
Yeah, come on.
Unless your Matt Breida's dead, then probably San Fran, but that's none of us.
Matt Breida, good solid drop of the second-string running back.
He's a sleeper I picked up, actually drafted, and hopefully we'll see what happens.
Pan it out.
Later in the year.
What should be, at least I think, the Sunday Night Football game, the most interesting game of the week, in my opinion, reminiscing that NFC Championship game, the Green Bay Packers at the Atlanta Falcons, should be an awesome game.
Absolutely.
I'm going to go Green Bay and A-Rod, and so is Tom.
Ooh.
Taking the road team against the Super Bowl runner-up. Bill, who do you like?
I'm with you guys. I'm picking Green Bay. That was probably... There are a few that were tough because teams are either just both really bad or they're just both really good. This is an instance where they're both really good, and it could go either way, but just slightly leaning on the fence towards Green Bay.
But it should be a delightful game, a much improved situation than we had this past week.
I will watch it.
Yes. Jake, who do you
we
like?
have to go with Atlanta on this one.
Hot Atlanta. Jermaine Dupri approves.
You just got to go with it. The Super Bowl slump doesn't exist, so they're just gonna keep on winning. Keep on winning.
Dancing to Welcome to Atlanta in my head.
Oof.
I'm just gonna...
No? Nobody else? All right.
Pretend I don't... Pretend I get the references.
You put some Will Smith on and some Big Willie style. We'll
a little bit of Miami for Smokin' Jay.
Bienvenido, Miami.
There you go.
Spanish for hello, Smokin' Jay. Here's $10 million. That's how it goes.
You heard the translation here first. And the Monday Night Football game, the final game on the docket for the week, the Detroit Lions at the New York Giants. I almost couldn't call them the Giants. I'm going to go Detroit. They looked far superior in week one. And Tom is taking the Giants.
Ouch. Well, I mean, he is a Dallas fan, so
Yeah.
he isn't very smart.
Jake, who do you like?
With that being said, I'm going Detroit on this. You really can't go against Matthew Stafford, and he's just got a great arm, that kid.
Yeah. Bill?
Yeah, I'm going Stafford and the Lions.
Stafford and the Lions.
I mean, is Odell going to play? Are they going to be able to get any points on the board?
Yeah.
They sure weren't able to do it last week. And, Stafford's going to score on that, unlike...
Yeah, absolutely.
they're going to score on that defense.
He scored on Arizona. He's going to score in New York.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Play him and stay him at home. Play-ems this week at quarterback. I like Carson Palmer. I like Jared Goff for the first time ever, and I like Jameis Winston at home against the Chicago Bears. At running back, Marshawn Lynch looks spry. Keep him in your lineup. Get yourself Leonard Fournette if you can. Buy high on Leonard Fournette if anyone's thinking about trading the rookie. And then I think DeMarco Murray has a bounce-back game against the Jaguars. Go ahead and play DeMarco Murray.
No.
At wide receiver, I really like Amari Cooper this week. I like the return of Mike Evans. That one's a little bit obvious, but I want to make sure. He did sit out week 1. It wasn't anything to do with injury. It was that week 1 bye due to the hurricane. Get Mike Evans in there. Winston to Evans if you have it. And last but not least, I like Larry Fitzgerald to have a good game just because he's the only offensive weapon they really have now.
That is fair
he could see the upside of 15 targets this week.
And I'll tell you what, he still can streak down the field with the best of them, so it's not a bad problem to have.
Yeah. At tight end, I like Evan Ingram. He's the only player on that Giants offense that looked like he was alive. I think he will continue to rack up the targets. I think Jimmy Graham has a bounce-back week, and I also like Greg Olsen to outperform the dreary numbers he put up in week 1. So if you're afraid, a lot of poor tight end play out of the top tight ends of the league, including Olsen, Gronk, and Kelsey, you should be good getting Olsen in there. Defense, special teams, I think the Raiders against the Jets, this may be the only time of the season I say absolutely go start the Raiders defense, but I think the Jets are just that bad. The Cardinals defense should bounce back this week, and as I was talking about earlier, the Wade Phillips-led Rams defense should be in for a really good year. They should also see the return of Aaron Donald this week. Stay him at home. Do not overreact to the Sam Bradford game. You want to get a little more consistency first. Go ahead and sit Bradford out if you have a superior quarterback, which you probably do if you drafted Bradford in the first place. Eli Manning looks lost. While I do think Evan Ingram will perform well for a tight end, I don't think Eli Manning should be in your starting lineup, and I would also sit Carson Wentz on the bench as the Kansas City defense should give him fits. At running back, I would sit any player who wears a Saints uniform this week until they really figure out what they've got going on. And I'm going to go ahead and say it. I'm going to double down and go ahead and sit Kareem Hunt. I have to do it. I have to save face here and prove myself right.
Please don't against that Eagles defense.
The Eagles front seven is vicious, and I think Kareem Hunt will get bottled up in the run game. Now, he could have a good game passing or receiving, but I think that Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill have big games for the Chiefs, and Kareem Hunt really takes all of the attention. And then last but not least, I think you sit the Crow, Mr. Isaiah Crowell, against Baltimore, who just put up a shutout of the Cincinnati Bengals, and Cleveland is not quite that good. At wide receiver, I would sit T.Y. Hilton until Andrew Luck returns. Scott Tolzien looked god-awful. I would sit Devontae Parker coming up against the Chargers, as they have two former Pro Bowl corners. Devontae Parker is a little bit right now of an unknown until we see how Jay Cutler works with him. Now, Jay Cutler does have that thing where he'll stare down one receiver and just force-feed him targets all game. So if Devontae Parker becomes that guy, he's a weekly stardom. But until that time, go ahead and sit him in this game.
Just remember, the best thing about Jay Cutler right now is nobody's got tape on him this season. So
it's true. That's absolutely true. I would also sit wide receiver Dez Bryant. I think Chris Harris Jr. is a phenomenal corner, and he'll be locked up with Dez Bryant. He's really hard to throw against. As you saw, the Chargers, they hardly targeted anyone against him.
Right, and in the end, Dak Prescott really likes Cole Beasley.
And Jason Witten.
Yeah. Neither of whom.
Witten coming off an 18-point fantasy
Neither
game.
of whom are Dez Bryant.
Which, fantasy fact for you, one of the three of us had Jason Witten on their bench.
I did in 2 leagues. Witten, a former volunteer, so I have a lot of love for Witten.
Enough.
At tight end, Kobe Fleener looked like the best player on the Saints offense outside of Drew Brees this past week, but I would sit him on the bench, even though he did come up with a garbage time touchdown. New England has historically shut down tight ends, and they did in week 1 against Travis Kelce, even giving up 42 points. Held Travis Kelce to 6 points. I would sit Austin Hooper. Don't let the 2-catch, 120-yard performance fool you. Green Bay is pretty stout against tight ends. I wouldn't expect Austin Hooper to have a game that big potentially for the rest of the season. And then I would also sit Delaney Walker against the Jags. As I said earlier, Telvin Smith is a beast. And if he's not dealing with Telvin Smith, he's probably locked up by Barry Church, who is no slouch in his own right.
Defense is stacked this year, so watch out.
There you go. Heard it from the Jags fan. And defense, special teams that I would sit. If you have the Giants defense, you probably did draft them pretty high. I would continue to sit them if you can. If you're not able to, I understand, but Detroit should put up a lot of points. I would obviously sit the Green Bay defense. They're pretty good in their own right. They held Seattle to 9 points, but Against Atlanta, it's probably going to be a shootout. And I would sit the Jags defense as I expect Marcus Mariota and DeMarco Murray to have good rushing totals against the Jags. And I think this could be a high-scoring game.
I mean, Mariota's definitely going to be throwing the ball at least 35, 40 times. But that also means more opportunity for interceptions, pick sixes. You know, I think we had 3 of them called back during the Houston game.
Unfortunate fumble
penalties
returns and interception returns, 3 called back.
Irritating penalties that should have been worked out in preseason. But it is what it is.
Yeah. So those are my plans and stams. Any big takeaways for Week 1 fantasy-wise? What do we think? Outside of Kareem Hunt's emergence as potentially the real deal?
I mean, I'm definitely going to say the way that the Browns looked Week 1, if you have any bit of semblance on a defense, just try to grab whatever defense is playing the Browns. They're obviously going to be crap. And if they're not available, whatever defense is playing the Jets. And you really can't go wrong with that, especially if your league gives negative points for defenses.
That's true. DeShone Kizer absolutely looked like a rookie. Not that that's a terrible thing. It's just DeShone Kizer looked like a rookie. So
I'll say that it's definitely good to see that after the season-ending injury of Derek Carr, came back and showed that him and Amari Cooper still have that chemistry that they had last year.
Absolutely.
And there's no reason to be apprehensive about having either one of them. They're both phenomenal athletes, and they're gonna be that way all season.
And that addition of Marshawn Lynch, that's just only going to open up the passing game from here on out.
Yeah. I was actually slightly expecting Cordarrelle Patterson to step into a bigger role. It looks like Seth Roberts still does have the grasp on that third receiver's role right now, as he did come down with a touchdown. But Michael Crabtree and Amari Cooper are, again, a really good duo to have as fantasy wide receivers. Even in that 26-10, 10-point type of victory, they still had a lot of rushing yards, still had a lot of passing yards.
Right.
I think Oakland's going to be a lot of fun, and if you have fantasy players,
a real
stick
renaissance
with it.
kind of offense.
Yeah, should be a lot of fun.
Could you imagine 5 years ago, hey, there's going to be a quarterback named Carr. He's going to have Crabtree and this young kid Cooper. It's going to be great out in Oakland.
Yeah,
you'd be like,
I would have laughed hysterically in your face.
Stop drinking and get the hell out of here.
Yeah, you had way too many pumpkin beers, sir.
You are smoking those Jazz cigarettes, aren't you, my friend?
Yeah. I'll be sure to post my full food chain, the power rankings, on the blog, but I will run through my quick top 5. Not a whole lot of time left here, but I will say I jumped the Kansas City Chiefs up to number 1 after the thrashing of the Patriots. They are a perennial 10 or 11 game winning team. I did drop the New England Patriots to number 2. I know an 0-1 team at number 2, but let's be honest, it's one game. The last time the Patriots lost and allowed 42 points against the Chiefs, they went on to win the Super Bowl.
They are the Patriots.
Right, you can't just, like a lot of those teams that won this week, you can't put them above the Patriots.
Exactly. Number 3, I put Green Bay. They went out and they beat Seattle. It wasn't pretty, but they found a way to win. Aaron Rodgers is still Aaron Rodgers. Number 4, the Atlanta Falcons. I think some people may get angry if they're down at number 4, but I do think there was a slight Super Bowl hangover. They let the Chicago Bears kind of hang around, and if it wasn't for the big plays by Austin Hooper and some blown coverages, that could have gotten hairy. And at number 5, I threw up the Minnesota Vikings after a pretty complete game. Harrison Smith is probably my current favorite safety in the NFL to watch. He's a lot of fun. And Everson Griffin is the real deal at defensive end. Xavier Rhodes is really good. So Minnesota's got a lot of good things going on. One last thing, I'm gonna give a shout out. I think the Chiefs and the Vikings are for real winners. And I think I just want to throw out there that I think don't overreact to the Rams and the Buffalo Bills winning in Week 1. I think they're pretend winners. We'll kind of keep track of the defeated and undefeated teams as the weeks go on here as a kind of a separate segment.
Hey, watch out, those Bills. They could be a real contender for division.
Yeah, I certainly, Shady McCoy got over 20 touches total in the game, but, man, you start to worry. You get 4 or 5 weeks of that. Is Shady going to break down and start getting hurt again?
Absolute.
It's a real concern. And Tyrod Taylor looked lost. He really didn't have any weapons to throw the ball to. Charles Clay scored a touchdown, so there's that. But that'll about do it for us this week. Jake, hope you had fun on the show.
I enjoyed myself. This is a good time you guys have.
Yeah. You made some good picks. You talked some good Jags, and you helped with the trivia game.
usually, while these knuckleheads are doing their podcast, I'm at my local bar on Taco Tuesday getting some margaritas and tacos. This was a nice change of pace.
There you go. Taco Tuesday, margaritas. Comes highly recommended.
They are delicious.
What'd you think, Bill? How was Jake's debut on the DBC Football Podcast?
I mean, Jake's Jake. Anyone who would be listening to this right now would know that that Jake guy, he can talk a little bit. So it's good to have him here. He definitely has a bit of knowledge and definitely brought some stuff to the show. So it was a good time.
And I respect the loyalty to the Jaguars.
Man, look at those compliments coming down. Compliments. I need compliments. Ooh, can't live without compliments.
And then he ruined it.
Right. No one said you could sing.
So, yeah, thanks for joining us this week. DBC Football Podcast, episode number 20. We really appreciate you coming back and listening. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, iTunes, Stitcher, all of that good stuff. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at dbc_football.com or on the web at www.dbcfootball.com. The blog is back up and running. And then make sure you check us out on YouTube, DBC Football. Be on the lookout for next week's episode where we recap Week 2.
And so with the YouTube, getting that completely updated with all the episodes that I have not yet posted. But
there we go.
Going forward, now that we're in the regular season, you can expect the podcast to go live wherever you happen to listen to podcasts, certainly on the website on Wednesdays, and then the YouTube should follow on Thursday.
That's right. So for Bill and Jake, I'm Dylan, your host. We really appreciate you joining us, and we will talk to you next week.